So this is Diesel for We the People News. How you guys out there? Alright, so I've been busy doing a little bit of this, that, here and there, and you guys know that sometimes I just jump on and make videos just off the whim. I am not really a public speaker of any sorts, or, I just find a little piece of time between honeydews and this and that, grandbabies, and so when I have a little piece of time, I just come up on a whim and make some videos. So last month was Black History Month, and this month is Women's Month. So I figure I'll do this video here because it actually, I just kind of sitting chilling. It's peace and quiet right now, so I was actually watching some videos and all that. And you guys already know how I feel about KrisAnne Hall. Look her up. Constitutional-wise, she's awesome. In order to understand law and what's going on and contract law and all that, you got to really understand the Constitution and what's going wrong and what's going right. So, it's always a good idea to start from the top and then look all the way around and see what is cause and effect and what's going on around you. So this video is more a twofer, basically. Black History Month and Women's Month, all in one on this video. So, no further ado, let's check it out.
LibertyFirstUniversity.com for your Constitution training, for everything that you need to know about American history, Constitution, civics, couple faith-based classes in there, socialism, communism, you name it, property rights, all there at LibertyFirstUniversity.com.
Yeah.
Welcome, JC. You have my hair on you.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. KrisAnne's hair everywhere. So, just to kick off our show right away, I thought we would talk about our women. Remember, this is March. This is Women's History Month. And we're trying to share with you women in history that are worthy of remembering. And JC, I thought we'd do Eleanor Eldridge today. Why don't you tell everybody about Eleanor Eldridge?
Yeah, she was daughter of a free black man who gained his freedom serving in the Continental Army. And she started businesses, basically cleaning and cooking. And she used that business to begin, the profits from that business to begin acquiring properties. So she was a property owner,
So her father was a slave, an African slave.
Yes.
Who gained his freedom through the independence.
Right.
And so this is obviously prior to the Emancipation Proclamation.
Correct.
And so his father was actually free before the Emancipation Proclamation.
Her father was, yes.
Yes. So It wasn't the federal government that
she
made
was
just trying to put us right here on the right time frame here.
She was born free, so free black, which brings up an interesting sort of conundrum with the reparations conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Does that stop with her? So then, like, how far do you go back with that?
Right.
Do you, if you have reparations, then you knock off some of the payment? You know what I'm saying?
Well, but she was a wealthy entrepreneur.
Yeah. So let's assume, for instance, her father was maybe born here. They're probably born here. Mm-hmm. Maybe could have been brought here. I don't know. But let's say his father was brought as a slave.
Right.
Then he was born here. He was a slave, but then was free. Then everybody born after that was not a slave. And this is, in fact, well before the Emancipation Proclamation. So, you go in that line, maybe you're talking one person, two people were slaves in that family line.
Right.
Is there some formula? Then, taking percentages off of your
What if you were
reparation
actually,
payment?
your great grandfather was a slave, and then your grandfather was, so your grandfather was a slave, your father was born free, and you own slaves.
Yeah, which
Does that sort of undo the reparations thing?
Yeah,
If
so
you're
that's-
born free, and you actually own slaves?
Yeah, it's interesting because that's probably the history of Michael Johnson, I think was the name, the first
Anthony Johnson.
Anthony Johnson, who was the first, was a black man who owned another black man,
Right.
and was the first case in America, I think, under the Virginia court that basically essentially legalized chattel
Right.
slavery, that you could own someone for life.
Right.
Prior to that, it was, pretty much understood to be an
So-
indentured servitude. But
Eleanor.
so fascinating little conundrum there. She was born free black, and had these businesses. She was hornswoggled. She was conned and robbed by a banker, and
A local sheriff too.
and sheriff had to fight in the courts to gain her property back. So the courts received this suit. Here you have a black lady suing in the court,
White people.
and so how, if we go by the narrative of, well, black people were only property, and they were never seen legally as property, so you have property suing, the court receiving a suit,
Mm-hmm.
and property sued somebody. I mean, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So here's
Which, what you're trying to say is obviously
Yeah,
not the
it's
case.
not the case.
Eleanor was seen in the court as a person who's not only, and I want to make this clear, in this lawsuit, she is suing a lender and the local sheriff,
Yeah,
and the court, let's just be clear about this, recognizes her as an equal to them.
correct.
An equal.
Yeah, and so with the threat of the lawsuit, she was able to regain her property back.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, this is all before Emancipation Proclamation. This is one of many, what I call black founding fathers and mothers that were successful entrepreneurs, business people, scientists, doctors, lawyers, teachers, professors. I mean, you could go on and on. Many
You
heroes.
mean before Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah. And that's,
And
I
these
guess it
people
should-
built America.
I guess we should mention, you can find that history at libertyfirstuniversity.com, our More Than Victims presentation about the stolen black history of America.
Eleanor is actually also in the Forgotten Founders class
Right.
that I teach, which is a more broad focus of all kinds of forgotten founders, men, women, black, white, Hispanic.
Yeah, you have a specific presentation. I don't think we've ever filmed it. You've presented to various women's
Right.
Republican clubs, federated women,
Mhm.
and things like that. You have a founding mothers presentation to
Mhm.
counter, the misogynistic narrative, and
Right.
women were weak and under the foot of the men, and there are so many female heroes,
Mhm.
just like the black Americans
Right.
during our founding, that were critical. I think
Right.
of Mercy Otis Warren. Could we confidently say that America would have taken the same direction, that we'd be here
No.
as we are without Mercy Otis Warren?
Without Mercy Otis Warren, without Penelope Barker,
And you can
without Prudence Wright,
So that's your founding mothers presentation that you can
I
say.
get teared up even just thinking about
Yeah.
those guys.
We have to film that and
Yeah.
put that on libertyfirstuniversity.com. But
It
anytime
touches
you
my-
guys see that on the calendar when she's
Yeah.
presenting, it's amazing, powerful course.
And it's because I love these women so much, but not only that, it really is heart-wrenching to me to know that not only are these women actually avoided
Yeah.
in history, They are discredited, they're demeaned by the narrative that they didn't even exist, you know. Not only that they personally exist, but women like them of courage and principle didn't exist. They were all a bunch of victims, right? So
Yeah,
that's why I appreciate the opportunity to bring, you know, to have this teaching moment. We need to, you were talking about making posters for schools for Black History Month for your forgotten founders, you know, the Black Americans. We need to do that for the women too, especially now we have this whole March is Women's History Month thing going on.
I thought March was college basketball month. But I guess.
Speaking of basketball, not really. In our presidential walk.
Alrighty, so if you guys want to learn more about some of this stuff, look her up. She's just plain out awesome. And thank God for women. And thank God for strong women. I know a little bit in the history that there was women fighting while we was in war with the Brits. And I say that lightly because, you know, at that particular time frame, we was all Brits. That's the reason why it's called, you know, redcoats. It wasn't, you know, the British is coming, the British is coming. You know, it's more of the words of the redcoats are coming. Because at that particular time, they, you know, everybody was pretty much Brits. So they didn't just yell out, the British is coming. It was more redcoats are coming. And which kind of just gets rid of the history altogether on that. Anyway, I thought it was interesting, and being this time of month, and I missed last month, this was a good video to share. For Diesel We the People, peace out there. And don't forget about history. Some of these histories have been lost. And even today, we're still trying to get rid of history. But look what happened when we got rid of some of the history. Chris and Hall just brought up history that everybody's been ignoring. Left and right. You know, so for everybody out there, it don't matter if you're left or right, we don't need to get rid of history. We just need to go back to history and dig up the facts and live by truth of history, not the narrative of history. For this, we the people. Bye, y'all.